Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about TENSEI SHITARA Slime Datta. So without any ado, let's continue. Chapter 151, Great War Outbreak Start. Well, I heard the detailed account from Gadraji-san and Shinji's group who came here before, and it was a certainty that the Empire had moved. It's as expected. First of all, a command post as the Strategic Union headquarters was set up inside the control room. Benimaru and Sui will always be on standby here. Sui let out many of his clones to various places. Our information gathering didn't rely only on image surveillance. To be frank, to be able to use something like high-altitude image surveillance in this world's war could be said as a out-of-the-box technique. No matter what I thought, I want to see it. Previously, I was troubled which route would be attacked, but it's just a funny story now. After all, to say nothing about dangerous route, even the situation inside the Empire can be observed, so everything was completely exposed from their first action. If this situation is compared to a shogi match, then my side can see everything across the board, while the enemy only makes a move without knowing the move that my side had made. It's that kind of feeling. Not only against an outstanding amateur, I will not get defeated by an expert enemy either. I am not playing a game with a disadvantage handicap, but rather had an advantage, absolute superiority, at my side. Oh well, it's not like war have rules or whatnot. Righteousness is with the winner. Anyway, there's no international laws in this world, then there's no problem, as there were no rule to be abided either. In the Council of Nations, more or less there is something resembling an international treaty. Normally the course of the event would be the head of the warring countries decided the rule during the war and after the war before starting the war. But, in the case of one-sided aggressor country, such rules didn't apply. And so in this case, anything goes in this kind of war. Frankly, the rule that I had decided was only one. Involving the civilian is prohibited. It's only this. Of course, a follow-up attack after I declared the war had ended, is absolutely prohibited. Oh well, I believe there's no one that will go against my will and didn't abide this order. Therefore, the Empire's forces which gathered one after another were projected on the several large screens. The first corps commanded by Gobuta and the third corps led by Gable were deployed as the vanguard force. Making use of their high-speed movement, this allows the corps to deal with the situation in any location immediately. Their numbers are few, but I judged it's not a problem if they devoted themselves on hit-and-run tactics. But, hey, why is there a tank here? A mere soldier like Shinji and Co wouldn't know a lot about military secrets, so the tank's existence was not known to them. As far as I observed them from the sky, there were 4.000 tanks. Moreover, it seemed to use magic essence as energy and it didn't seem to be necessary to replenishing its fuel. This tank had high versatility and it seemed to have performance that exceeded our former world's highest performance tank easily if I only compared by their performance. I don't know whether it moved only with magic essence, and there seems some kind of refueling, but judging from its speed, it was abnormal. I assumed bad roads would not be a problem for it even while running with 100 km per hour or more. I rise from the ground slightly just like floating in the air. Honestly, magic is incredible. So I thought, but more than that, I tasted the bitterness if only it also gets developed in here. Obviously it incorporated the knowledge of the other worlders. Even I could hit upon that idea, but such ideas like a tank wasn't suited in a world of sword and magic. If only my head got more brains, then I could freely order for an idea. No, let's stop. There's no use even if I regret it. It's an issue for later. When this war is over, let's try developing things in various ways more freely. We wasn't only surprised by the tank. An airship flew. Seriously. It was hard to hold back the screaming. If there is that, transportation will become remarkably easy. The supplies problem would be settled if it was used for war. Besides, I am optimistic that I can steal the air supremacy one-sidedly, but this might be a tad self-conceited. I was thinking of developing it, but it was practically impossible. I did various development, but it was realistically impossible to be implemented. I should really praise the fruits of the development team of that side, honestly. Because there will be no invention of such level that can be completed overnight. Well, nevertheless I want to capture one ship safely. After thinking for a bit, there is no other way. Well, I was surprised because of the Empire's military weapons, but even so my side wins in information warfare. Raphael roughly counted the total of the Empire's soldiers. There seemed to be approximately 1 million soldiers. An outrageous number has come out. I didn't know how far Yuuki had spread his influence, but it will be difficult for him to keep this number under control, right? I think this is probably because of the big effect from the bait I spread. If that's so, the enemy army may aim for the labyrinth. While I thought about the situation, a corps emerges and begins to detour towards a different direction from the direction that the tank corps is advancing to. Apparently, that corps seems going to invade the border around the Dwarf Kingdom outskirts. The tank pretends to be the main force, while the real main force was deployed on other place. Humph, honestly only such impression comes out. What should we do? Should Gobuta and his corps that went to the front line return? No, their number is not enough anyway, let's entrust the main force that went to another direction to Gerudo. I mean, one portion of the enemy will enter the labyrinth, it will be easy to crush every one of them. I see, how's the labyrinth? Benimaru is unusually serious. His usual frank speech has fallen silent, he now bared his true nature as the Supreme General. He's really reliable. Ramirez, could you take in the entire adventurers' town around the labyrinth into the labyrinth? I could, you know. No problem at all. I see, then let's do it like that. Having said that, I explained the circumstances to Masayuki, the commander of the volunteer army. Really? Is that thing even possible? Then I left the rest to the surprised Masayuki. Apparently, the story became like, after persuading the demon lord, he made me to definitely promise to protect the town. As expected from the Hirodano. Really reliable. Like that, he receives the praise from the town citizens. Masayuki observed the spectacle with a complicated face. But, even with this expression, Hirodano is still not yet satisfied. That's right, that's right. Hirodano will protect this town. We can be at peace if we entrust everything to him. Such interpretations are made, there was no one that noticed Masayuki suffering. Thus, the surface town was moved entirely to the 101st floor of the labyrinth. The 100th floor and the 95th floor changed places, it shifts every single floor, and so the defense system was perfectly established. Or rather, it might be impossible for those troops to go past the 90th floor. Because even with supplies, several days are their limit. As they can't use the inn inside the labyrinth, such thing as breaking through is impossible. The remodeled soldiers could go through 2 weeks without eating and drinking, so Shinji and Ko said, but it's unthinkable for them to capture the labyrinth in 2 weeks. Oh well, I can't be careless, I will think about it. At the time that side had already come to attack. There's also the possibility that they keep going inside the labyrinth, but it might be useless to think about that for now. Well, with such feeling I prepared the preparations. The town around the labyrinth is isolated, and Gerudo's second corps with 17,000 people was deployed as the frontage of Tempest. Inside there were 10,000 volunteer soldiers and a corps of 50,000 monsters were waiting. Because the surrounding countries will also receive the news that the Empire had moved, they could succeed in organizing their army quickly, but it might probably will be too late. I wasn't able to summon them before the war, but the Empire's movement exceeds my expectation. After all, I only asked them to organize and requested to maintain the status quo in a standby state. The worst case is we got besieged and waiting for reinforcements, but in that case it's already a losing battle. Oh well, it depends on the situation. Well then, the preparations of this side were completed as well, so let's start the war formally. The Jura Great Forest, my territory as a demon lord, has already been invaded by the tank force. As to not make the enemy realize it that our side foresees everything, I left them alone until the preparation was complete. The situation is already a territory invasion, but let's give them warning with a feel like we have just noticed them. By the way, I dispatched the newcomer to each corps as an intelligence officer. Gobuta, while looking dubiously. A woman who doesn't have business with the battle is unfit for the first corps, you know. Sue said so, but that woman true identity is Testarossa. You will be killed by me, so, she said, and Gobuta fell silent. I mean, that way seems more interesting one. Let's wait expectantly for him to start GA, gasp, or something like that later. In contrast to Gobuta, Gable has matured. There are many circumstances that I don't understand, so I'm counting on you. So he said when I introduced him to Ultima. Testarossa, Ultima, Carrera. To be honest, the one with the cruelest personality among this 3 demon dukes might be Ultima. Gobuta might be in danger if I swapped the one sent to his corps. On that point, Gable seemed to have taken a liking to Ultima. That's great, that's great. Although I informed them that while obeying the general's order, their true identity must never be exposed, but I feared that they would do something without any hesitation. While still obeying the order, and yet, perform a retribution at the enemy. Ultima seems to be a person who will do such kind of thing. Gable, it seems you have saved your own life after I had warned you to not get cocky. Therefore, the current amusement is only go Buddha. Oh well, as for Testarossa, which I dispatched as an intelligence officer, they would be obedient in the beginning, while wait and see. As long as it's in the limits of my order. So, I get in contact with Go Buddha. First of all, issuing the warning. Well, who should I pick? Go Buddha was lacking in showiness. Gable was a hidden force for the time being as he was on standby in the air. If it comes to this, Testarossa, I entrust this to you. Yes, thank you very much. I will meet your expectations surely. I order Testarossa. Oh well, if it's her, I will not have to worry that she's going to die even if the Empire doesn't want useless talks and attack her. It's a farce, but it's necessary to be cliché. It's alright even if I exterminate them all without saying anything, but a demon lord needs to put up a performance too. Lieutenant General Gastar, who was Calgurio's confidant, lied on his back at his personal use command vehicle placed behind the latest tank corps, listening to the situation of the great forest's surroundings. His position as Lieutenant General was appropriate as Gastar's ability is high. He possesses ability to control sound, and he also possesses ability to finally analyze the situation just by hearing various sounds, unique skill called Musician 3. Also, he can give specific instructions using a special wave, and he can give an order only to his allies even during a scuffle. In addition, he had the hidden trump card that can cause cytoclasis using soundwave cannon, and he was an influential person who held a high-ranking position within the Empire. That Lieutenant General Gastar notices that the surrounding sounds suddenly ceased and so, gave a halt order to the entire army. A short time later, after he issued that order, he saw 3 people walked from the forest's direction. They weren't an ordinary traveler, and no one would think that this is just a chance encounter. A beautiful woman was leading the 3, she possessed a beauty that can't be thought to be a human's for. Her scarlet hairs flowed lovely and made her good looks stand out. But, on contrary with that beautiful face, her body was wrapped in a formal military uniform. The 2 people who followed on her rear were similar. A middle-aged handsome man who seemed to be strict and a bit fat man of unknown age wore a military uniform with the same design. Gastar understood and had no doubts that these 3 people were the Demon Lord's subordinates. When the woman stopped her walk, she bowed and had a sweet smile towards their direction. Everyone, nice to meet you for the first time. My name is Testarossa. I'm a retainer of the great Demon Lord Rimuru, the master of this area. Then, the business I have today is. I will overlook this if you all leave right now. But, I will not pardon it further if you all went in more than this. To convey these words of my master. So, that woman Testarossa seems to be her name said, at the same time the man behind her lightly waved his hands. A wall of flame appeared at the moment 1m in front of the most forward invading tank. The wall of flame vanishes instantly, leaving a burnt mark on the ground that became a straight line. You all already understands, right? When you pass this line, your lives will forfeit. People who don't have the resolution mustn't pass it. Well then, have a good day 5. Testarossa turns back from that spot after she leave behind a graceful bow. The men behind her followed her to leave the place. They said what they want to say one-sidedly, without even considering this side at all. Their conducts instigated Gastar's anger. Do it. Gastar briefly gave an order to the sniper. Receiving the order, the soldier who held the sniper rifle take aims on Testarossa. And then, silently a soundless type magic bullet was shot. Testarossa, who turned around, deepens her smile and laughs evilly. The magic bullet which should pierce her body was, precisely, stopped by Testarossa's delicate index finger. The bullet initial velocity reaches 3 times of speed of sound and it's a lump of undetected magic power. At the same time of bullet impact that magic power will be released, that bullet which should kill and wounding the target surely was just plucked in the mid-flight without any problem and was lightly thrown away. Just like dealing with a worthless toy. And then, the 3 walk away without turning around again and leave without saying anything. Fear and confusion almost bursting inside Gastar's mind, but he suppressed it with his willpower. The ordinary soldier didn't understand what just happened. Only himself and the sniper that could notice what just happened. Inside Gastar's mind, fear and humiliation were hanging on the scales, and the one which won was the humiliation. Don't be confused. The victory is dedicated to His Majesty the Emperor. All troops, charge. The tank corps started to advancing all at once to the Gastar's loud voice command. They stepped over the warning line easily and the war had begun. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe and press the bell icon for more content.